What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into the original call to post. And folks, it is that time of year. Del Mar opening day is less than 24 hours away. We are, of course, recording on Thursday, the 20th of July. Del Mar gets rolling tomorrow. And to help me break it all down, as always, I have my co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, like I posted the other day, the boys are back in town. All our favorites. We got Flavian Pratt, Umberto Rispoli, Mike Smith, Joe Bravo. Everybody's back. And most important, you and I are back.
Amen. It's great time to get back and hit kind of the reset button. The Triple Crown has come and gone, or at least, the three big races have come and gone. We've kept you appraised of those, and now it's kind of time to start to focus our attention on Del Mar, and of course, culminating in November in Santa Anita. It will, of course, be the Breeders' Cup. We will have a Breeders' Cup qualifying race we will be talking about. Obviously, Monmouth Park has a huge card this weekend, as does Saratoga, but Del Mar is going to kind of be the meat of this podcast. Obviously, if this is the first time you're listening, welcome in. But spoiler alert, both myself and Raider Jim here in the San Diego area. So Del Mar is essentially our horse racing backyard, and it's a special time. I know for myself, I have very fond memories with my late father, and I believe Raider Jim, yourself as well. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Opening day, we're less than 24 hours away. It's going to be a great 2 months of racing at the Seaside Oval.
Yeah, over 2 months, they're going to be 8 weeks of racing. It's going to be, and it only totals up to 31 days.
Yeah.
It's 31 days of racing over 2 months, which is great. It means it's giving the trainers, it's giving the stable folks, the handlers, a little bit of breathing room. They're going to be running Thursdays through Sundays. And then they'll be off on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which you ought to try to get that work week, because that sounds like a pretty good gig to me.
And that salary too. I mean, I've seen some of these horse price tags. I'll take the salary as well.
Yeah, Santa Anita wrapped up in May, June, and had a very, very successful session for the fall, winter, if you will. And most importantly, they had a very, very strong safety record. And I know that's in the forefront of your mind and my mind, and of course, everybody at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club as well. I think they are going to have all the safety protocols in place. They were kind of ahead of the game in my book because of the issues they went through a few years back when they went from standard to synthetic. Then they've done some readjusting again over the last couple of years, and they've had a pretty good safety record. So let's knock on wood and fingers crossed and all that, and may all the riders and all the horses, first and foremost, be safe.
Amen. Yeah, that's the as you said, the first and foremost, the health of the athletes, both jockey and rider, and the guys on the track as well. I tell you what, being in the gates with those horses as those gatesmen. I don't know if that's the exact title, but that's another. Those animals, they are big creatures, beautiful creatures, but they can cause some damage. So everyone stay safe out there. And as you said, Del Mar has kind of been the leader, not just in California, but I would, venture to say in all the country, at least in terms of the level that Del Mar's at. Del Mar is definitely on that top tier level with Santa Anita, Monmouth Park, Aqueduct, Churchill, and those big courses. It has one of the best safety records out there after, like we said, the synthetic was, they went and tried it, didn't work, and they adjusted, and that's key. It's not about the price tag, it's about the athletes, and that's the key going forward. As this is essentially our first call to post this calendar year, where we're not going to talk about anything like that, thank goodness. And hopefully we can continue to keep that theme going. But, unfortunately, if something does come up, it will be something it falls into our purview, if you will. But I know for myself, Del Mar, it is kind of, look, if you live in San Diego, if you live in Southern California, you don't necessarily know what season it is. It's normally very good weather, and it's not raining. So it's kind of hard to figure out, what season is if you don't have a calendar. I tell you what, though, if you're driving on the 5 and before you kind of get ready to go down the hill, you see the brake lights, on a Friday at 2:30 going, what's going on? Why is this already happening? Yeah, it's Del Mar season. And that's the big part for me. It's really signifies summer, signifies the beach, signifies getting out and about. And, especially after COVID, I'm hopefully, getting back to the full house that we've always expected. I know last year, the Pacific Coast Classic, I had tickets to that, but it was, I think, 110 degrees. Wanted to see Flightline, didn't get a chance to do it, kind of chickened out, but I'll be definitely heading to the Seaside Oval this year. And hopefully, I think myself and Raider Jim might find a day or two to.
I'm sure we can make that happen.
Yeah, I got a vacation day earmarked already for a Thursday. They got the free and easy Thursday where they got half price beer and hot dogs. So I'm one of those guys that I like less crowds. I'm not the guy who shows up to Star Wars midnight to sit behind Darth Vader. I'll give it 2 weeks to breathe. That's kind of how I am with Del Mar. Opening day, not my gig, at least going there. I will be betting on it tomorrow. But yeah, it's a fantastic attraction.
That's why God created TVG.
Amen. And that's one of the best apps out there. I mean, credit once again, not sponsored, but if someone would like to give them a ring or they want to give us a ring, we are all ears. But fantastic app, great, program on the TV as well. But the best part about TVG, you don't need the TV as well. You can watch the races as long as you have that internet connection. Might not be the most reliable, but that's you and your phone's internet provider's problem, not TVG. So great opportunity to get in line there. But Raider Jim, any more final thoughts on Del Mar before we start to dive into the races coming up this weekend?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next season, not to get way ahead of the game and put an end to this one already in the Bing Crosby session. But, it was announced earlier this week that they are going to be closing up Golden Gate. Golden Gate Park is not going to run after its next session. And that's going to create quite an opening in California thoroughbred racing. So there's already murmurs that could mean an extra day for Del Mar. That could mean an extra day or two for Santa Anita. You could see an increase in Southern California racing during 2024 because you've got all the thoroughbreds that are there. You've got all those people that work there. They've got to do something, and we'll keep our fingers on the pulse of that and see what happens. But I think it's going to play out positively for Santa Anita and for Del Mar. And as far as Del Mar itself goes, opening day is tomorrow. Gates open at 11:30, first post at 2 p.m. A new feature they're doing for starting today or 2023, opening day, there is a $1 million pick six. All you got to do is pick the winners in races 5 through 10, the $1 million, they'll cut you a check right there. And the minimum wager on that is $20 or 20 cents. And what I understand is if the pick six standard would be $300,000, then what they do is they write you an additional check for the other $700,000 to whoever, whichever players happen to be so fortunate as to hit that million. So, for 20 cents a pick, I think I can throw $2.40 out there and pick a couple in each race.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of folks out there who are spending some hard-earned money on the lottery. I believe the winner was drawn last night, but over the last few weeks, plenty of money. I like my odds, and they're not great. Don't get me wrong. Picking 6 winners is not easy, hence the $1 million payout. But I think it's a lot easier than winning that lottery. Obviously, not the payout of the lottery, but $1 million. I tell you what. That would be a nice start to your Del Mar season in that situation. But yeah, it's a nice little added incentive for opening day, as that's a perfect segue into the sessions that we are going to be seeing. Obviously, opening day tomorrow, the first big race, or at least the ungraded handicap will have let me get my notes together. I was not ready. We have the Oceanside. Come on now. Oh,
that's correct. The Oceanside Stakes.
Thank you. There we go. The Oceanside. We are going a mile on the turf, $100,000 purse. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to get us started on the ocean side.
Yeah. I got the WD-40 out to get the rust off of me.
I had the same thing with me and try to get my notes together.
So here we go. It is the Caesar's Palace Oceanside Stakes, as you said, 1 mile on the turf, 3-year-olds that have not previously won a $50,000 handicap. Big field, and that's what you're going to find in these first couple of days of Del Mar, this first weekend. You're going to see the feature races, not big purse money so necessarily, but the fields are going to be big. What does that mean? It means the odds are going to be all over the place. You're probably not going to have clear winners, and there's a lot of opportunity for some long shot to sneak in there. So you really got to pay attention to morning lines, do your homework on who's running in the stakes races, and then have a good time. Bet smart and bet safe. On this particular race, I am looking at Panic Alarm out of Ireland. That was the horse that I nodded after I started looking at everything here. I also like Game Time, the horse out of Kentucky, running out of the 11 or the 13 spot. So those are 2 out on the rail there. The other one I do like on the rail, if it can get a good start, is going to be the 1-horse Classical Cat. That could be Rispoli's for Umberto's first victory in the 2023 campaign. And if you notice, if you look at these programs, Phil D'Amato is just loading the fields. He is really, really, really got his horses ready to go. So look for him to be the winner when everything settles in September. He's probably got a really good shot going into this. If you were going to bet on which trainer is going to have the most success, I would say right now it's Phil D'Amato.
Yeah, it's a good call. I have definitely the Classical Cats definitely on my ticket. And then you did bring up Panic Alarm, another one. Another horse that I have keeping an eye on is Escape Artist, the 10-horse. 7-2. For me, it's going to determine the value. You talked about this big field and the odds. A lot of horse racing, obviously, you got to kind of bet kind of how the odds, at least for myself, how the odds show you how they're going to fall. And a lot of 5-1s, 4-1s, 7-2s, 6-1s. I think that's going to change very heavily. So I'm going to see how the odds fall when it's all said and done. But one horse that I definitely think is going to make it on my ticket regardless, a horse that I think might be the best in the field is the 9-horse Conclude. Obviously, at the John Shear back in April, didn't run very well, was heavily favored, ended up running only a 70 on the turf. But in 4 races, this horse has ran a 79, 96, that 70 I talked about, and an 88 on the turf. So those numbers will play, I think, here. If this horse can replicate it. The only issue I will kind of say, and this is rather big caveat, big asterisk, this will be the first time Conclude is going to run at a mile. So the 2 turns, I'll see how the horse handles that as well. But this is a wide open race that's kind of hard to kind of handicap until the money starts to flow in and the morning line starts to turn into live odds. But for me, keeping an eye definitely on Classical Cat, Conclude, Panic Alarm, and Escape Artist. So that is the ocean side. Of course, that will be race 8 on Friday. Opening day should go off, looks like about 5:40 Pacific time. So moving on to Saturday, we have the race 7. It will be a $100,000 ungraded stakes race. The Asunitas, Raider Jim, you're much better.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Asunitas. This will be a mile on the turf for the fillies. Raider Jim, once again, I'll give you the honors of the Asunitas.
Yeah, race 7, $100,000 again. Not a big purse, but this is going to be one of the 2 higher purses that they're going to have at Del Mar on Saturday. This is also a pretty big field. You've got 15 confirmed entries with 1 also eligible. 15 horses, that is a lot. This one is going to be running, I believe you said on the turf?
Yes. 1 mile.
Yeah, on the turf, which is always a fun races to watch. Very scary, the number 2 horse. I kind of like that one. And that is the horse that you picked out in the previous race, Kent Desormo. I think he's going to have a good season also at Del Mar this year, along with all of our other favorites. But DeSormo's back. He seems to be riding very, very well. 6-1. That's not bad numbers for this kind of a race. Also like canoodling, the 7-horse 5-year-old running out at 5-1 right now. And then the other horse that I had underlined on my card was Honey Pants. Honey Pants, Umberto Rispoli, the 12th horse, another Phil D'Amato horse. Rispoli, D'Amato, 4-1. That's your favorite right now. And I do like that horse to finish not only in the money, but probably at the winner's circle.
Yeah, I tell you what, big field, odds kind of all over the place, but you can kind of tell how in sync both myself and Raider Jim. I had 3 horses underlined: the 7, the 2, the 12. Exactly what you just touched on. But yeah, obviously very scary. The one race that really got my attention, just looking over the numbers, was back in April at Santa Anita in the Wilshire. Was a grade 3, ran a 92. Wasn't good enough to win. That just kind of shows you how good that field was, but still did finish third at going off at 9-1. Has kind of taken a bit of a step back, especially last time out at Santa Anita, ran an optional claiming and put up only a 58. So I think that's why it's sitting currently at 6-1. But I think very scary is enough for you to keep an eye on. And then, yeah, canoodling. What can you say there other than, you know, a horse that is a veteran and a horse that's going to be a turf specialist, or at least a turf veteran, I should say. And then Honey Pants or Honey? Yeah, Honey Pants.
Yeah.
A very, very consistent runner. This horse is pretty much mid to high to low 90s in that area on the turf. I guess one thing that caveat, only one run this year. It was in May at Santa Anita. So, this will be its second run and we're already into July. So I don't think that will factor too much, but definitely something to keep an eye on for the 12-horse Honey Pants. So moving on to the kind of feature race, it is the grade 2 San Clemente. This, of course, obviously will be at Del Mar, a turf race going a mile for 3-year-old fillies. I'll take the honors here on this one. The first horse that really jumped out to me was the 6-horse Spicy Bug. Good speed numbers in the last 2 runs. Obviously started slowly in its career, but in May and June at Santa Anita, it posted an 85 and an 86. Both of those got this horse into the winner's circle. This will be by far its toughest test, as it was essentially running in maiden special weights, and then last time out was an optional claiming. We're going all the way up to a grade 2, granted kind of a lower purse grade 2, but is still a grade 2. And look, it's 6-1. I'm going to probably ride this horse, even, play show ticket, I think has value. The other horse that I'm keeping an eye on is Ansonet out of Great Britain. Anytime horses run on the turf, you have to keep an eye on the Great Britain horses. They're just essentially, all of those horses run on turf. So they're essentially calculated veterans there. Trainers know how to do what they need to do to get these horses back on turf. I would like to see more value at 4-1. But I do think this horse is good enough to get into the money, and it isn't its US debut. It's already ran here at Santa Anita earlier this year in May. And then the other 2 horses that kind of have my eye on as well is the 4 and the 5. First and foremost, actually, no, I take that back. I do not have the 5. That was a typo on my end. Just the 4-horse Delight. Looked very good last time out, ran an 83. We'll need to improve on that. But the big question there was that run in the optional claiming. It looks like Indiana. Was it a fluke? Because this was a horse that was running, in the low or in the high 60s, low 70s, and jumped all the way up to 83. We'll see if that's a fluke. It's a big test for Delight. 5-1. Once again, I think I'm going to need to see more value. This is a really tough race to handicap, I think, overall. Going forward. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts?
First horse I have on my ticket, the 6-horse Spicy Bug, Ken DeSormo at 6-1. You can't go wrong. Horse is running good. He's had a winner circle the last couple times out. Second horse I have on my ticket, the 3-horse Anisette at 4-1. Why? Fantastic closer. This is a fantastic closer. Was far behind the last race out. Still ended up getting the place, if I'm not mistaken. What a run, too, it made. Now, my long shot pick of the day for the Del Mar tomorrow, or for Saturday's ticket, is going to be the 2-horse in this race. Ancient Peace, 12-1. Keep an eye on that horse. Tiago Pereira is riding. It's a John Sadler trained horse. That horse broke its maiden back in, I think it was April, got to the winner's circle, then went to, was out of Santa Anita, and then a couple weeks later came in 4th in a grade 3, then came back in June, first week of June, and took 2nd, placed in a grade 2, the Summertime Oaks. Let me tell you, this horse has speed and his familiarity with Sadler and Tiago Pereira. This horse is going to finish in the money. I won't be surprised if this horse doesn't challenge Spicy Bug. And then the 4th horse underneath on my ticket for this is going to be the 8-horse Paris Secret. Last couple times out, it showed and got to the winner's circle. Those were both in grade 3 races at Santa Anita at 6-1. You got fantastic value.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, all these wide open races, and it seems like we're both definitely tuned into the same things. And I was definitely looking at the Ancient Peace as well. Really like those numbers. The one thing that kind of, I guess turned me off is really good numbers, but they're on dirt. So, once again, not the end of the world, but I think that's the reason why, despite the fact this horse has ran 82s and 83s, 2 out of its last 3 runs, why it is 12-1. But if this horse can get going on the turf, that's a hell of a value there, because this horse is going to pay, even if it's a play show ticket at 12-1, might even go up higher considering kind of where the favorites stand. So plenty of options going forward. But Raider Jim, I do know we have a race on Sunday as well. I don't have a form for that one, so I have nothing to add.
I do not either.
Okay, so yeah, we do have some, keep an eye on our Twitters for Sunday, but unless the form gives us, their last times out, stuff like that, it's very, very hard to handicap unless it's something like the Kentucky Derby or something, where you can just Google the name of the horses and figure it out that way. But it is time to focus.
Next weekend, next weekend, it's going to start heating up at Del Mar. This is when you're going to see the Bing Crosby Stakes on Saturday, 6 furlongs. It's a grade 1, $300,000, 3-year-olds and up. Now, this is an important race because it's also the first Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race that they're going to be hosting at Del Mar. Whoever wins that race automatically gets into the $2 million Qatar Racing Sprint at Santa Anita when they host the Breeders' Cup in November. That'll be Saturday, November 4th, at the other West Coast crown jewel of racing, Santa Anita.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic 2 years for Southern California thoroughbred racing, Santa Anita, and then straight into Del Mar. Cannot wait for that. Both myself and Raider Jim will be at Del Mar, TBA on the Santa Anita side of things, but definitely Del Mar. But moving on, we're going to go across the country. Obviously, the East Coast has some pretty good racing as well, and a huge weekend for East Coast horse racing. We're going to start at Saratoga, a grade 1. We're going to have the Coaching Club American Oaks, 1 mile and an 1/8 on the dirt. This is for 3-year-old fillies. Of course, your giveaway there is the Oaks part of that race. Anytime you see an Oaks race in thoroughbred racing, you're going to see fillies only. So Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors on the CCA Oaks. That's hard to say.
Absolutely. Small field, but a fast field. This is going to be a fantastic race. Standing out, the first horse that I have on my ticket, and it's my old favorites. I believe it's Flavian Pratt and Brad Cox. And when I didn't pick them 2 weeks ago, I was the one who got burned because they ended up winning the race. Anyway, Wet Paint, the 2-horse, Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt, 2-1 right now. The Kentucky Oaks Wet Paint did not run well, but that's not indicative of what this horse can do. Has come back, has bounced back, had good races after that, is training very well right now. Look for Wet Paint to be in, old form, fast form, but is going to be challenged by the 5-horse Hoosier Filly. right now at 5-2, placed in the Black Eyed Susan, got to the winner's circle in June at Ellis Park. Hoosier Philly is running very, very fast, very, very good right now, is running at good paces, good distances between races as well. So look for Hoosier Philly and Wet Paint to have quite a race. Then I like number 4, Gambling Girl, also currently at 5-2. Won't be in the winner's circle, but definitely going to challenge to get into the money. Ran well also in the Oaks and actually got the place in that one. The one that you have to watch out for underneath could be the surprise, not a real long shot, but a good value is going to be number 1, South Lawn at 9-2 right now. Very, very bad run at the Oaks. They expected a lot more out of South Lawn in the Oaks, but got bumped and traffic was bad, could never really recover. Again, like with Wet Paint, not indicative of what this horse is capable of.
Yeah, this is kind of the antithesis of what we talked about at Del Mar in terms of the large fields. This is very kind of compact. You're going to have to kind of split some hairs to figure out what you want. Those 4 horses are the same that are on my ticket. No big surprise there, as these kind of are the 4 big ones. I will say for Wet Paint, I'd really want to kind of see a return to form. Obviously ran so well leading up to the Oaks. And as you said, not a huge disaster. Obviously, the Oaks a very tough race to run. And you got to get a good start. And unfortunately, that didn't really happen for Wet Paint. Definitely going to be a force here. That doesn't hurt to see the Pratt Cox combo as well, as you talked about. One of the other horses I do want to kind of talk about that you didn't bring up was Sacred Wish. This is a horse that I think a lot was maybe thought of for this horse and finally kind of got rolling last time out in Belmont. Ran in 82. That's probably not even good enough to get you in the money here, but if we can continue to kind of see this horse move back in the right direction, who knows? But I think this field is just too good. I really do also like Gambling Girl here in this one. We'll see right here if, that Kentucky Oaks, ran in 92 in the Kentucky Oaks at 13-1. We'll see if that horse can kind of continue, but that was its last race. 3-month layoff going into, I don't know the weather report in New York or Saratoga, but I got to imagine it's going to be hot, or at least hotter than it was in Churchill on Derby Day, or at least, on Oaks Friday. So maybe that might be something to keep an eye on, but this is a race where you might want to maybe throw down a couple different exotics and hope you get lucky how the odds fall. But at the very least, this is a race you just want to make sure you're in front of either your TVG app or in front of your TV to see how this one goes, because I think it's going to be a really not only competitive race, but a very good race from, essentially the Kentucky Oaks summer edition, if you will, kind of the idea of this. And you brought up South Lawn as well. If South Lawn gets anything higher than 5-1, I think you have to almost 100% put a play show ticket with the value that horse gives. Currently 9-2. But once again, I think maybe 3 of the other horses we talked about get more love, and all of a sudden South Lawn's at 6-1. Jump on that as soon as possible when that gets rolling. But moving on to Monmouth Park, and I tell you what, this is kind of the main event of the weekend for North American thoroughbred racing. Not only the 2 races we're going to be talking about, but there are also 3 other grade 3s, just a stacked card at Monmouth Park. But the races we're going to be focusing on, first and foremost, we have race 11. This is the grade 1 United Nations Stakes, 600,000, going 1 3/8 miles on turf. This will be a 3-turn race, just a heads up. They're going to actually go 3 turns here, just the way Monmouth Park is set up. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the grade 1 United Nations Stakes?
Yeah, close to home here as far as the All-Stars we get to see at Del Mar. Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown won the 2021 and 2022 runnings of this race. Joe Bravo, who is now calling the West Coast his home, has the most wins by any jockey in this race with 5. So that's just another one of those trivial facts that I have to throw out there so that my head doesn't blow up. I like number 9, Red Knight is my favorite. Winner Circle in the Man of War Stakes not that long ago, going to be at 5-2 right now. Watch for that to drop a little bit. Don't be surprised if it doesn't hit even money, or even, maybe even a little better than that, but probably even money. Then I like the 3 horse Catnip at 4-1. 3 straight Winner Circle appearances, including the last time out where it won the Monmouth Stakes in mid-June, and that is a grade 3. Catnip is a pretty quick horse, runs very strategically. The jockey runs it very, very well, and is a good horse out of the gate and keeps pace very well. The surprise horse to some, but not really. I mean, if you look, it's a 3-1 right now, but it's on my card, and I'm not going to be surprised if this horse does not win the race. Planetario, the number 6 horse, 3-1. Mike Smith in the saddle, Richard Mandela is the trainer, has G1 wins, grade 1 wins in its history, has had a little bit of time since that, but was in the Winner Circle the last, and placed and got the Winner Circle the last 2 races, and those were both grade 3 races at Santa Anita. The travel over to Monmouth shouldn't bother this horse. And then my other underneath, and definitely look for it on an exotic, the 7 horse Yamamoto. Let me tell you, there's a difference here, and the difference is going to be, if you look, it has had some not stellar performances of late, not bad performances. Difference is going to be Luis Saez. Luis Saez knows this horse, knows how to get the most out of this horse. He's going to be the difference. I definitely think that there's a strong, strong chance for Yamamoto to finish in the money on this one. So it's 9, 3, 6, and 7. It's going to be a fantastic race.
And to keep up kind of with the theme we've been going, I have pretty much all of those horses minus the 7 on my ticket as well. The 9 Red Knight, as you said, the class of this field, it's running 4 races this year, 94, 95, 97, 98. And you'd say, wow, this horse is peaking. And that would make sense because, the United Nations, a big race. This horse is 9 years old. This is going to be its 36th race. Even in my notes, the last thing I said, peaking at 9 years old with question marks. I mean, incredible to see Red Knight doing its thing. And once again, 98 last time out at Belmont, going 1.25 miles. So very comparative distance here in the Manhattan. This is a really strong horse. As you said, won the Man of War back in May at Belmont. The other horse that I have my eye on as well was the 6 horse Planetario. I'm wondering now, we saw 2 years ago at Del Mar when kind of Japan burst onto the scene with the Breeders' Cup. I'm wondering if maybe Planetario could be a shot across the bow, that maybe Brazil is coming, because I'll be honest, no disrespect to Brazilian horse racing, but not really something that jumps out off the tongue like France or Great Britain or, even at this point now, Japan. But to see this horse, essentially the national champion of Brazil, and then head to Santa Anita and just go crazy, essentially. In 87 in its North American, or excuse me, I guess North America, it still works there. At Santa Anita in an optional claiming race, ran an 87 just to kind of get its feet underneath it. And then a 95 and a 97 in, as you said, 2 grade 3s. This horse really, really impressive. And normally I'd say, there's a jockey change. Wonder what's going on there. But the jockey change is getting Mike Smith into the saddle. So I'm not asking any questions after that. You also brought up Catnip. Last 2 runs have been top notch, and they've both been at Monmouth. I'm a big fan of track familiarity, so that helps. My big concern though is this is kind of my limit. Anything less than 4-1, I got to stay away from it, just value wise, because I have a good, a few horses underneath that I'm feeling pretty good about. The first one is on the rail. It's going to be the 1 horse at 6-1 Therapist. Speaking of kind of older horses, this is an 8-year-old gelding. This will be its 42nd running. Obviously, would like to, maybe, I think maybe sixth place will get it over $1 million. It's only 7,000 away from $1 million for its career. Very consistent, very well traveled. Keep an eye there. Big field here, and kind of a tough start being on the rail. Another horse I have an eye on is the 5-horse, excuse me. There we go. Limited Liability, currently 5-1. Will need to be better than its last few races, but has been trending in the right direction. 85, or excuse me, 82, 86 into 8 to a 91 in the Louisville back in May at Churchill. Once again, we'll need to get high 90s, but a little bit of value there at 5-1. And the horse that I kind of have my eye on, and it's 30-1. It's a very big long shot. I'd probably put a play show bet on it just because, but it's Ocean's Map. And this is a 6-year-old. This will be its 30th career race. But if you look at its numbers, not a whole lot jump out except for a few 90s and high 80s. And if you look at those races, they're all a mile and a quarter or more. So this horse is better in long distances. Once again, I don't know if this horse probably won't, even if it runs its best race, might not even still make it in the money. But at 30-1, I'll pay $5 to find out if this horse can get into the money, because if that hits, it's probably going to pay out more than any of the others. But the United Nations, it's a perfect little kind of appetizer towards the Haskell, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But a wide open field, I think there's a ton of value if you can find it heading to the United Nations. But with that being said, it is heading into our kind of main event, not only of the card at Monmouth Park, but really the whole weekend, as I said, for North American horse racing as my computer loads. This is a Breeders' Cup qualifying race. The winner here is going to get their ticket to the TVG Classic, the big one, the Breeders' Cup Classic. The Haskell Stakes is for 3-year-olds. We're going a mile and an eighth on the dirt. This is $1 million purse. Raider Jim, what do you got for us?
This is one of those races I hate, just like I hate the big fields. I hate when it's an 8-entry field, and I got 5 horses that I think could probably make it to the winner's circle. So the combinations are limitless almost, but you take a look and you see some very, very familiar names, especially through the Triple Crown. And that first one that you see is the number 4 horse, Mage, who won the Kentucky Derby, but then didn't fare too well in the Preakness. And I don't know that that was a fluke. I don't know that the way that Mage ran in the Preakness was a fluke. I think the fluke was the Kentucky Derby. Right now, Mage is at 3-1. I don't even know if I'm going to have Mage in my top 3 picks for this race, though, but you got to give the credit where credit is due when it's the defending Derby champion. The one that I do like, though, that's going to come out and I think is going to be the horse to beat, drew the outside, drew the 8th spot, and that is Arabian Night with J.R. Velasquez on board and trained by Bob Baffert. Love him or hate him, the guy's got a record. So Arabian Night is my number 1 pick, and then I like Tapit Trice, the 5-horse. Again, Luis Saez, who I talked about in the race prior to this, at 3-1, I think Tapit Trice is going to bring the A game, going to be challenging Arabian Night. It should be a very fast pace all the way around. So I've got 8, I've got 5. Mage, I'm still not sure on if I would put Mage 3 or underneath somewhere. The one that I would keep an eye on, though, is that number 1 horse, Go Rocket Ride. And let me tell you, that horse is fast. And they also have Mike Smith in the saddle on this one at 9-2. That's not a bad value, especially on the rail. If he can keep that horse close, get him into the pack, and then move outside a little bit, he's going to break, and he's going to break fast. So watch that horse, Go Rocket Ride, the number 1 horse. And then you can fill in underneath with either number 4 Mage or number 7 Steve Asmussen's horse, Extra Anejo, which is a fantastic horse. At 5-1, you've got good value on that one too.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. I mean, my notes literally for Mage is I'm not a believer. Derby was a fluke, and this is too tough a field. Um, you can't write this stuff. I wish I took screenshots of all my notes, because I feel like there are going to be plenty of people who are rolling their eyes when people hear me say that. But I mean, congratulations to Mage and their connections, but I think it was kind of a birdstone moment. That was it. That was the climax of Mage's career, which is nothing to scoff at. But I don't think we're going to see this horse in the winner's circle at a top race. Certainly not this one. I just think there's too much competition here. Obviously, right next to Mage is Tappet Trice, is that a horse that I think could possibly compete here. But for me, it's, as you said, it's the 8-horse Arabian Night. This is a horse that it costs 2.3 just to purchase, and since it broke its maiden back in November 2022 at Keeneland, ran in 97. The only knock that I can have on this horse is it hasn't ran since January. It's the only knock. But even when it ran last in January, it ran in 96. If this horse has not gone off any lower than even money, or any higher than even money, essentially, this horse has been a favorite essentially from the start. I think this is a big time contender. Something else to bring up, Bob Baffert's, he essentially owns the Haskell. He has won it 9 times. So if any trainer knows how to win this race, it's going to be Bob Baffert. I also had Extra Añejo on my card as well, not just because I love the name, but because this is a top class horse that, once again, just like Arabian Night, since its debut, has been running at very high class speeds. Broke its maiden running in 92, and then took a bit of a step back, if you want to say that. Ran in 88 in an optional claiming race, finished second, and then kind of rebounded in another optional claiming race back in June. Bounced back and ran in 94. So I think at 5-1, if you can get Extra Añejo at 5 or higher to 1, there's a ton of value there. But I think the class of this field starts with Arabian Night, and I think it's going to be very hard to get away from that horse when it's all said and done.
If I had a pause at all or a question about Arabian Night, and if what I'm looking at is correct, the workouts have been fantastic.
Yep.
Very good workouts. However, the last workout that I'm looking at was just 5 days ago at Santa Anita. And that's kind of interesting, that 5 days before the race that was still sitting out here in the sunshine of Los Angeles, and now they're going to transport them back there. But they know better than I do as far as transporting those things. So
yeah, sure hope that was a nighttime transport, because I tell you what, I know what week that was, and I would not want to be going down the 5. I don't care if there's a coastal breeze or not. I would not want to be in anything metal going down the 5 unless I had the AC right in front of my face. So once again, I'm sure everything was put, with the right things in mind, but definitely something to keep an eye on there. I actually looked at the workouts too, and I was very impressed, but you were the one who kind of brought it up to me as you were saying that, and I realized, oh, that's SA, not DM. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. But it's going to be a great weekend, not just great weekend of horse racing here in the South, in Southern California, and then of course back east. But with Del Mar getting rolling, it's essentially weekends where here in Southern California and here for this podcast, we're going to have plenty to break down for you. Kind of the return of the weekly original Call to Post now. I'm really excited to dive into it. But Raider Jim, final thoughts for this kind of opening day preview edition of the original Call to Post.
No, just great to be back with you and be talking horse racing, kind of shake off some of the cobwebs and the rust and the dust. And I think we're going to have a great racing season at Del Mar. And of course, you and I are going to bring our A game each and every week. And sometimes we're even going to bring you winners.
Amen. Yeah, exactly. A game guaranteed, winners. Those are going to be optional, unfortunately.
And as I usually do, at least for opening weekend, I haven't had bad success. Tomorrow, race 1, you want to look at the 8 and 3 horse combined with race 2. The only one in race 2 that I really think I would go with is box 8 and 3 from the 1 race with horse number 5. See if you can get that opening day daily double.
There you go. That is the best way to get your season started. A couple winners right out of the gate. Just see the ball go through the hoop sometimes. That's all you need. But for me, obviously, look, it's it's a very special time. Del Mar is a place that will always have a piece of my heart. Whether it's going there with Raider Jim or going there, back memories of going with my late father, kind of growing up there in the summer. Whether you like it or not, I learned a lot there, and you know what, I'm better for it, and here I am now, able to enjoy it with a great friend and colleague, Raider Jim, and I can't wait to kind of dive into the next 2 months. Plus, essentially, because once again, Bing Crosby season, we can't keep forgetting about that. Obviously, we still have the summer slate to get through, but Bing Crosby will be right there as well. And then, of course, the Breeders' Cup. So plenty coming down the pike for you. But with that being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the original Call to Post presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Take care.
That's safe.